Hi, I'm Dr. Rod Harley, and in this video I'm going to identify and discuss 5 barriers to sexual fulfillment. When it comes to sex, what we're all searching for is sex that is satisfying, that's pleasurable and healthy. We're seeking good sex and all of the benefits that come along with good sex. But why is good sex important? In addition to the pleasure that we experience, good sex has other benefits, including the synchronization of the mind and the body. It boosts immune system functioning, which helps to ward off illnesses like the common cold. And it facilitates the recharging of the body and the body systems. Given those benefits, why aren't we all striving to do whatever we can to have good sex? What is preventing us from reaching our peak state of sexual pleasure? For most of us, we're faced with barriers that inhibit us from reaching our full sexual potential. Some of the most prevalent of these barriers are fear, shame, bias, anxiety, and guilt. Fear is a key emotion that, from an evolutionary standpoint, has ensured the survival of our species. As children, we are tasked with learning to cope with a diverse range of feelings and emotions: joy, anger, affection, frustration. We learn to regulate these emotions in socially acceptable ways. Fear keeps us from engaging in behaviors outside of what are the social norms for our specific society. This fear-induced conforming behavior results in the inhibition of sexuality and sexual behavior. Shame. Similar to fear, shame is a key emotional barrier to overcome in achieving our full sexual potential. Shame can be even more difficult to work through than fear, as it gets right to the core of our identity. Unlike fear, which can be attached to an object or action other than the self, shame is processed as a component of how we envision and characterize ourselves more so than as a behavior. Shame stems from our perception of having not met some standard or concept of self. These concepts of self are formed by contextual axioms like family, culture, and beliefs. We are conditioned from infancy to avoid specific behaviors which our family, our culture, and our society have attached negative connotations. Shame inhibits our potential, and it places limitations on sexual expression and our sexual fulfillment. Anxiety. Sexual anxiety, like shame, is related to the fear that some aspect of our presence between the sheets is going to be disappointing for our partner. This response is mostly conditioned by the way in which we were brought up to think about certain aspects of sex and our own bodies, and by the social expectations that impact our relationship with our own sexuality. Bias. Bias refers to the attitudes or the stereotypes that affect our sexual understanding, actions, and the decisions we make in a subconscious manner. We usually learn these attitudes and beliefs through culturation and personal experiences. These processes result in negative, often emotional reactions to sexual stimuli that can impact our willingness to explore our deepest desires. Guilt. Sexual guilt refers to a feeling of responsibility and deep remorse that we associate with participation in or even thoughts and fantasies about sexual activity. Individuals who feel guilt related to sex or particular sexual activities generally believe that sex or a specific sex act is immoral, sinful, or unclean. Sexual guilt is a struggle. It takes place within ourselves and it's self-imposed in our own minds. Sexual guilt holds us back from open and spontaneous, authentic expressions because we hide inside a self-evaluating shell. It keeps us from expressing our sexual desire and feeds on our pleasures by turning them into something that we perceive as unclean. The emotion of sexual guilt steals intimacy from lovemaking, and it makes sex impersonal, repetitious, and mechanical. You can't feel sexy if you feel guilty. The sexual guilt we carry with us is directly proportional to the pleasure we do not feel. So how do we overcome these sexual barriers? Overcoming barriers to sexual fulfillment can be a mentally and emotionally strenuous enterprise. It requires a change of perspective that can create significant dissonance within us. We must rewire or recondition our subconscious to interpret and signal a different reaction to the previously paired stimuli. We then need to implement specific steps to overcoming these barriers. We need to gain awareness, understanding and identification of our biases and how they contribute to our static sexual functioning. Then, we need to identify the triggers. We need to understand what social, sexual, emotional, and cognitive stimuli creates anxiety for us. Next, we need to shift the framing, changing the existing paradigm to facilitate the necessary change, or changing how you view the problem from a contextual standpoint. Then we want to visualize opportunities. We want to form a mental image of potential positive outcomes to replace the negative outcomes that we've been conditioned to attach to them. And then lastly, we want to take incremental actions. Understanding that behavioral and emotional change is a deliberate process and that it's going to require multiple movements towards our goal. In a general sense, your goal should be to achieve a healthy balance in how you react to, engage in, and process sexual stimuli. Of course, you're going to individualize this goal and craft it in a way that best positions you to achieve your maximum sexual fulfillment. I hope that this short video helps you to move towards a healthy and fulfilling sexual space. I'm Dr. Rod Harley. You can follow me at Dr. Rod Harley on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, or go to www.drrodharley.com. Thanks for watching.